In this video, I'm going to talk to you about 5 cars that are really cheap, as in under £10,000, and look way more expensive than that. There's not much more I need to say. That's what the video is about. Hit like if you enjoy it, subscribe as well if you're new here. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so old, tired Range Rover Sports do not look expensive, but old examples that have been taken care of well and that have a generally clean exterior with personalised plates can definitely fool people into thinking of a car that is worth more than the minimum £3,000 you need to get into one. For £10,000 you'll get yourself a 2009 example with around 80,000 miles on it in good condition. This old Chelsea wagon comes with multiple engine options, but for our price range you'll likely be looking at the 3-litre turbo diesel V6, which makes 241 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in a sedate time of 9 seconds. If you're looking to maximise how expensive your car looks though within our price range, you have to go for the 2009 facelift at a minimum. You probably won't find the later 2012 facelift for under £10,000, but the 2009 does go a long way to making the car look and feel a bit more polished and modern, with updated design language pretty much everywhere. The terrifying thing about this SUV though is how technologically advanced JLR tried to make it, with stuff like electro-hydraulic active anti-roll bars that enable dynamic response for cornering. That system and systems like it are at risk of going wrong given the poor reliability reputation of these cars, but they are still nice to have while they work. Cam belts and oil pumps are also known to go wrong, and owners do complain about them being expensive to work on regardless. That said, when they are working, they are probably the most luxurious car on the list, at least on the interior, and though SUVs don't do it for me, I can appreciate an expensive looking car. When Mercedes brought out the new A Class in 2013, they brought with it the CLA, based off of that A-Class platform as a 4-door saloon with coupe stylings. Now, having driven the A-Class, I'll tell you straight up that the build quality isn't exceptional, which is probably a key reason as to why these cars, which aesthetically do look amazing and pretty expensive, have dropped to below £10,000. In fact, you don't even need to go for a non-ULEZ compliant diesel to get into one of these. You'll get a CLA 180 with a 1.6 litre inline-4 turbo petrol engine, which puts out 120 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 8.7 seconds, and you don't have to spend more than £7,500 to get into one, with £10,000 getting you a 2013 example with around 90,000 miles on it. Despite it effectively being a saloon version of the A-Class hatchback, it was placed higher up the Mercedes menu, in between the A and the C classes. Aesthetically, this does make sense, as it does look at least a bit more premium, but genuinely it's easy to say that the main difference between the two cars is the body shape. Anything else is a technicality in my books. But that aside, the design is in the shape of a fastback coupe, which isn't a typical shape out on the roads nowadays. The interior is a beautiful place to be, particularly in a nice AMG line spec, but honestly it does feel a bit cheap, and the 1.6 litre block properly lacks any punch to it. It's fine, but it's not hugely engaging as a car to drive. But that's not really the point. It does look premium, and it does look like you paid a lot more than £10,000 for it. Oil leaks, loss of drive, airbag issues, camshaft failure, auto box failure, and a few other problems have caused recalls on these, and generally a lot of owners seem to have had one problem or another quite early in the car's lifespan. We're on to the second JLR car on this list, which is a far newer car than the Range Rover Sport we kicked off with. It's the Jaguar XE, which followed on from the X-Type as the brand's compact executive car, and in my opinion, it's a much more expensive looking upgrade. It comes equipped with a 2-litre turbo diesel inline-4 engine, which produces 177 brake horsepower and will go from 0 to 60 in 7.6 seconds, so still pretty slow. The reason why it looks more expensive than the X-Type is that it was the update to the new design language brought in by design legend Callum. It looks like a baby XJ, which is obviously the full-size luxury offering from Jag. I think the differentiator is basically that in the XJ you're driven and in the XE you drive. It's at least a bit interesting too from a technical perspective, given it was the first car in its class to have a bonded and riveted aluminium construction with bolt-on crash structures, which meant that insurance costs were decreased in the event of a crash. It's also a nice car on the interior, though I've always thought it's a bit too focused on being sporty in there with some of the two-tone specs, when they really could have just gone for something more luxurious. I guess these sporty routes were important though in the creation of the Project 8, so I'll let that slide, even if the two cars are completely different ends of the performance spectrum. £6,000 is around the minimum you'll need to spend to get into one of these, and £10,000 will get your 2015 model around 70k on the clock. There are known CO2 issues, a fuel leak problem, and some other build issues with it, and some owners have suffered electrical problems too. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you are, a quick reminder, in the comments down below, let me know which of these 5 cars is your favourite for under £10,000, I'd love to hear it. And on Sunday, I'm going to be at the London Classic Car Show. If you want to be there is a link in the description and the pinned comment down below. Click that link, you get £5 off your tickets. Back in 2021, I really really enjoyed driving and reviewing the BMW M4 for a few weeks. It's an unreal car with insane performance, good looks, and overall it's just a nice package. Obviously the M4 is a bit outside of our price range, but for under £10,000 you can get a base model BMW 420d, and if you're lucky, even one that's ULEZ compliant despite being a diesel. That means you get a 2-litre turbo diesel inline-4 engine producing 187 brake horsepower, which means you'll get from 0 to 60 in 7.2 seconds, pretty decent. BMW decided to split out the 3 Series Coupe and convertible from the saloon and estate with the F Series of BMWs, so the latter two remained as the 3 Series and the former two became the 4 Series. In reality though, they are the same thing minus the body shapes. It also comes in the Grand Coupe 4-door style, but I'll be real with you, I'm not a major fan. Back to the nice body shapes though, the convertible is sweet with a hardtop roof, which sadly disappeared for the more recent G Series. The Coupe though is slightly lighter, and one thing I think BMW have gotten absolutely right with this car is the interior, which feels premium and like a nice place to be. Also in M Sport spec with some of the M Performance parts attached, the exterior looks much more expensive than £10,000, and you can actually get some useful bits as well, like the LSD. With price in mind, £7,500 is the minimum you'll need to spend to get into one of these, and £10,000 will get you a 2016 example with around 100,000 miles on the clock. The crankshaft sensor and EGR cooler are two known problems with these, but in general it's not an incredibly unreliable car. Taking the top spot is probably the car on this list that you'll want the most if you're a proper car person, given the performance. It's the Audi S5, a lovely sports coupe which is effectively a competitor to cars like the BMW 335i of the same era, while the RS5 was a competitor to the M3. The S5 comes with a 4.2-litre V8 engine which makes 349 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.9 seconds, much faster than all the other cars on this list, and pretty good performance for the money. It really helps that the A5 won a bunch of design awards for being so pretty, and the S5 is just a more aggressive version of that car with limited exterior modifications. I'm not a fan of the chrome outsides of the front grille, but in the right spec they are really nice looking cars. It also genuinely is not far off the performance of an RS5, which is only half a second faster to 60 thanks to having almost 100 more brake horsepower. I won't argue that the S5 is by any means a cooler car than the RS5, which I think is highly underrated, but I think it is more of a sleeper, and I think value for money ratio is really a contender. It also has the sportiest interior on the list with the S5 badge seats to remind you what car you're driving. It actually came as a coupe, convertible and sportback, but to be honest I would only want to go for the coupe, and the whole car is highly related to the Audi A4 in the same way the A7 is to the A6. £6,000 will get you into one of these, and £10,000 will get you a 2012 example with around 100,000 miles on it. Low coolant is a common problem which can lead to proper issues, as well as leaky gaskets from the pressure. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, do hit the like button, I'd really appreciate it, and subscribe as well if you're new. Massive thanks to the patrons for their support, and to you guys as well for watching. But if you want to see more cheap cars that look expensive, you'll find a bunch of them up here.